And then we have Mr. Chang, Miss Nicole Niquette, and Miss Tammy Humphrey. All right, everybody. And so we'll get started by just kind of going around. We could start on the right over here and just introduce yourself and the brokerage you work for, and let's go with how many years you've been in real estate.
My name is Derek Hirano. I'm with Compass Real Estate in Manhattan Beach, and I've been in the business for, this is my 5th year.
Hi guys, Chang here with Lyon, Stahl Investment Real Estate here in the South Bay, and I've been licensed since 2011.
Hi, I'm Nicole Niquette, Keller, Lyon, Beach City, and this is my 5th year in real estate. Hello, I'm Tamara Humphrey. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm with Realty, and I've been in the business 13 years.
Wonderful. And since we're kind of talking about getting into the business, what made you get into real estate, and what did you do before?
Is that me? Okay, I was a financial analyst for a background screening company for about 4 years. And what got me into the business is, well, number one is I hated my other job, and so, but I did seek out real estate. I was looking for something that blended a little bit of entrepreneurship, a little bit of something where I felt like I had provided a service, and then I could also see the person I was working with, so I had more of a purpose of why to work hard, or why to do everything you do as a real estate agent. And I found real estate, and I loved houses beforehand, and so I said this is a great opportunity.
I didn't have such a well thought out reason why I got into real estate. So I was manufacturing and assembling fuel lines for fighter jets. I was in my mid-20s, and I was making $60,000 a year, and I basically found out that was like the ceiling for me. And I felt like I was too young, and at the time I was already interested in real estate investing, so I was taking classes, and I thought real estate was going to be super easy. I just saw realtors dressed in like,
as we all do,
Tommy Bahama shirts and flip-flops in the South Bay, just go to parties and make a whole bunch of money. Boy, was I wrong, but that's how I ended up in real estate.
Thank you.
I grew up in real estate, actually. So my parents have been in real estate for about over 30 years in Boston. I always said I would never do it, but I'm so glad I did. And I got my license when I was young. I was 24, so I didn't have much of a career before that. But I love it, and I'm always so grateful to just be a part of such a big event in people's lives. I've dabbled in a lot of different industries, the restaurant industry, the fashion industry. I'm actually currently still a hairstylist. And I was in the process of trying to figure out what else I wanted to do with my life, still wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I was interviewing with Delta, and I realized with Delta starting out, you're going to make minimum wage. And I'm like, I can't pay my bills on that. And I was actually working on one of my hair clients, and she's like, why don't you just get into real estate? Is that working? Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. And then, so she's like, why don't you get into real estate? That way you can still do hair and you can do real estate. And I like being in a lot of different atmospheres. And so the next day I just signed up for school.
Awesome. So you could see we all kind of come from different backgrounds, which I think kind of goes for everybody probably in this room. I know for myself, when I got into it, I've had my license almost 2 years. Actually, 3 years this May. And I didn't know what I was doing. No matter how many classes I took, I found myself that the best thing for me was to get in with a mentor. Did you guys have any mentorship when you came into it?
Let's see here. Yes, my first mentor was my manager when I started. She was amazing, who you know. She was amazing. She was a really good problem solver. And what I really loved about her is she kind of kept my focus on not getting distracted, so keeping the focus on things that actually move the needle and move your business forward versus all the other things and stuff you hear about what you should be doing as a real estate agent. So I really appreciated her for that. let's see, out of the 5 years that I've done this thing, for a year and a half, I was with a partner. He's an older partner, and some people do see that as a mentorship. That, long story short, that ended very poorly. I'd be happy to go into detail with anyone that wants to hear later. But it ended very poorly. But honestly, though, it's important to bring it up because you learn a lot from finding good mentors and bad mentors. And so I think there is like I said, there's things that you wish you could do, but I'd be happy to go into that and how to overcome some of those challenges too.
So I didn't have a mentor when I got started. When I joined the brokerage that I joined at the time, they sort of forced us into joining a coaching program as sort of a mentor. That coach wasn't the right coach for me, but that was the sort of mentorship that I had, for lack of a better word.
When I first started out in real estate, I had a mentor, but she was like a super top producer, and I was working like 3 jobs, so we didn't really have a lot of time together. And then after I switched brokerages to Keller Williams, they automatically had this amazing mentor program set up, and that's when I really started to flourish.
When I got into real estate, I always looked to my parents as well because they had been in the business for so long. So although they weren't working with me in my area, they definitely were a mentor of sorts to me in growing the business. And my brother has joined their team as well in Thousand Oaks, and so I'm able to, our family conversations are so much real estate, it's ridiculous. But my poor sister that's not in the business. And then, I was with Keller Williams in the beginning, and they had mentorship programs set up as well. And then our office now has just amazing agents that we can always turn to at any time for advice along the way. So that's it.
So sticking with the mentorship, do you currently, or do you have plans maybe in the future to do any mentorship yourself to newer agents?
So yeah, I don't think it's not because I didn't have a mentor. It's not like I think having mentors is bad. I'm working with a great brokerage at Lyon, Stahl, and I have an opportunity to mentor agents as junior agents, and then help them grow their business in a similar fashion that I did.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think, I've been in this business 4 to 5 years. I don't think people look at me for that role. But it's something I really love. Like I love giving, passing on that advice if I can be of any help. And so it's something that I am hoping that I can do. And I have reached out to a couple agents, and we kind of have, talks once in a while about what's going on in their business. And it's something that I find that I really do enjoy.
Wonderful.
So our team is growing. My husband's on my team, and we have an admin assistant, and we have a wonderful buyer's agent as well. And so, yes, that is the goal, is to, become a mentor of sorts and be able to help our buyer's agents grow their business. It's difficult to get started, and, I'm always here as far as making that happen and working through it.
I currently have 4 mentees right now. I had 5, and 1 just flew the nest, and he's doing amazing. Anyone that comes on under me, I feel personally responsible to make sure that they succeed in the company, and it's a lot of fun. It's so nice to see their business grow with them as well.
Wonderful. So how do you guys manage your time? What's your daily schedule looking like?
You should start.
Yeah, seriously.
We'll set the example. I am very, very diligent about my schedule. I do something called time blocking, and I started off just breaking my schedule into hour and half an hour increments. I wake up every day at 4:30. I work out. I have a morning routine of meditation and gratitudes. I'm in the office by 6:45, basically prepping my plan for the day. I work on my business at that time, not in the business. Then once 8 o'clock starts, I am on lead generation mode, guaranteed from 8 to 12, and then based off of my schedule in the afternoon, it'll be negotiating contracts, listing appointments, or more lead generation.
So that was the goal. But the short answer is, I do have a system. I'm not as diligent at it, but what I do is I use a lot of technology to kind of base what I have to do every day. So the night before, I use a project management software called Asana. That's what I use to kind of set my day-to-day tasks. It gives me my own checklist of what I need to do. I have a I have a team, I have an assistant too, and so we use that to kind of coordinate, who's doing what at what time, and that's kind of how I keep track of my day.
So I've created a really amazing schedule, but I don't always follow it. I can go about like 6 months where I'm like hardcore following the schedule, and then it's like system overload, and then I need a few months off. But for the most part, lead generation I like to do in the mornings, like 9 to 12 if I'm going door knocking or cold calling, and then appointments in the afternoon.
So my team is more, we're farmers, we're geographical farmers, so concentrating in a specific area. Prospecting time block is not as much for me at this time, although we'll definitely grow to that. But yes, we have schedule as far as what's going on a daily basis. We have a coach that really helps us time block what we're doing and what we need to do to grow our business every week. And that's been really important, especially we have a little one now. And so really blocking out our schedule so that we do have time for our baby and our family as well as real estate. It's difficult, but having everything, written in the schedule and making sure you follow that is definitely very important to get by and survive in this business.
Can I just add one thing about scheduling? It didn't always start off as being like super diligent. So if those who are struggling with their schedule, because it's easy to come up with a schedule, but it's hard to stick with it. A lot of things that I find are really helpful is accountability. Finding people around you who have a similar mission, who are looking to do the same thing as you, is a great way to do it. Just letting them know what your schedule is. If you want to, put something on the line to make sure that if you don't show up, you'll get penalized, or whether you just have more eyes on you, the more accountable you are, the harder it is for you to fail at your schedule.
Yeah, and you could see that it's a variety of different routines, but they all have one consistency, and it's sticking to the schedule. And they're sitting up here because they're top producers. They had a great year. They've had a great career so far, and it's because they stick to their methods, which is pretty awesome. So you kind of touched on it a little bit. Let's talk teams. What do you do? Do you have a delegate? Like, do you strictly use TCs? Do you have assistants? Do you have partners? What's it looking like?
For me, I have an assistant. I have a transaction coordinator, and I think using that is, for me that's been essential to be able to delegate work out, to know it's going to get done well, and to be able to focus on the things that are really important to driving your business forward. So we use a couple different softwares, like I said. Asana is one big one that we use to kind of keep track of everything, and that's been a huge game changer for us.
Nice.
So I started my, I didn't start the business, but I have been with my fiance. We started the Bacon Dow Group a while back. And so now she's more of the business side, more than the actual transactional and lead generation side. I have a transaction coordinator, and I am in between assistants right now. So if anybody knows a great real estate assistant, holler at me.
Give him your card.
To us, that was the hardest thing to find, was the best assistant, sorry. But it took us a lot of years to find someone that we knew we could trust, that worked like us on our team, that, there were years that I had the computer just glued to me, whether we went to dinner, no matter what, I didn't, it was constant. And that assistant has really taken so much off of us. And so we have an amazing admin assistant now that our coach has helped us through the process to find. And we have a buyer's agent, and then my husband as well. We're partners, and yeah, and that's been great.
I have an amazing transaction coordinator, so if anyone needs one, let me know. She's incredible. I have a part-time assistant. That role has been, interesting, trying to iron out and figure out, when I need them, when I don't need them, because most of my business has just been me and my transaction coordinator. That's it. I guess I have door knocking partners in different areas, so that comes in handy when I have multiple listings with partnerships. So I definitely encourage a partnership.
That's a good little segue into it, since you brought up door knocking. Let's talk prospecting. What are you doing?
My business is like 100% focused on prospecting. my mission is basically if I'm not prospecting every day, my business is not in operation. So I started off door knocking. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just happen to do really well on the phones. So I'm very diligent about my phone calls. Some people may notice if they see on social media, I'm very, very accountable to talking to 50 people minimum every single day.
So I've tried them all, and I think, and honestly, if you're starting out, I recommend you do try them all. You have to kind of find the one that really fits with you and fits your personality and your mold. So for me, my prospecting is a lot of door knocking. I've tried cold calls. I'm not as good as them, but door knocking, when I get belly-to-belly contact with someone, I felt like I've been able to connect a lot better. Yeah, belly to belly. But and then otherwise it's a lot of social media. Obviously, is a big part, plays a big role in my real estate business, and everything else that everyone else does too, like mailers and everything else like that.
Direct mail is not dead.
No, definitely not.
I feel like all of the methods are tried and true. Let's not reinvent the wheel. The cold calling. My first cold call was a $1.7 million listing appointment. I did not get the listing, but it was cool to go on it. And then the door knocking, it's kind of like the long ball, depending upon, the turnover rates in the area. Like, for instance, in Manhattan and Hermosa, I had been door knocking, for 6 months, and it took, 9 to 12, 5 days a week for 6 months. And then my partner and I had gotten a signed listing at the door. Versus, Playa Vista, I'd been door knocking, 2 or 3 months and then got a listing appointment right away. So I think it just, depends on the area for, creating success and whatnot. But door knocking is definitely more of like the long ball. So as long as you're following up with the people that you're meeting, like, things will happen a little quicker.
And I'll be completely honest, I don't cold call and I don't door knock, and that might be something that we'll grow to do in the future. But I think I touched on it a bit in that we're geographical farmers, so we concentrate on one area as far as our farm goes. We have a sphere of influence that we definitely, I go to lunch with past clients all the time. They become great friends of mine, and that's not just for future real estate, but it's about relationship building. And so that's how I've always grown my business, and that's generally my personality with it. So it's about we put on events, we do client parties, we are calling our past clients. That's our prospecting, and it's fun too because we get to develop relationships with clients, and like I mentioned, create great friendships. We're going to San Francisco this weekend for a client that's buying a house up there, and it's a great trip this weekend. So we're looking forward to that, and
Yeah. One question. So your geo-farming, is that something that you use through an online service, or is it through direct mail that you've set up?
So we do direct mail. We do just listed, just sold postcards. We do emails throughout the community. We do open houses every weekend on our listings. It's about being known in the community and giving in the community. So we do about 4 events a year, and our area is Playa Vista. We do about 4 events a year in Playa Vista where we try to touch our farm or a sphere of influence 10 times prior to the event, and then Facebook marketing with it as well.
Nice. And anytime you set up a farm, even in my experience, like, you have to understand that you have to stick with it, and it's going to take some time. It's always like the example of gardening. You plant the seeds, and then you have to nurture it. You can't expect it just to shoot up overnight like Jack and the Beanstalk. If only, right? Then it would be real estate is fast, easy, quick money. So what does your marketing budget look like? Like, if you had to split it up into a pie, like, what percentages are you breaking down, and how is it spent?
My marketing budget is probably 15 to 20% of my GCI. So whatever I project my GCI to be, that's going to be 15, 20%, sometimes a little more, will be my marketing budget for the year.
I'm like the wrong person to ask about this. I don't spend any money on marketing. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. All of my business is generated from my proactive activities.
That is impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive. We try to keep our marketing budget at 10% of our GCI. So farming definitely can cost a lot of money for sure, but 10% is where we try to keep it.
From every house that I sell, I typically will put aside 10% from that paycheck just so that I can build up that account. And then typically with every listing, it'll be around $5,000 that I spend. And then, mailers and whatnot, like $1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah. It takes money to make money.
Yep.
Unless you're Dow Chang.
Exactly.
So somebody had touched on, Tammy had mentioned about keeping in touch with past clients. So what are you doing to keep in touch with your past clients?
So like I mentioned, we do client parties once a year, normally a Christmas party, where we connect with our clients and love to see them. It's hard if you sell a home to someone and then don't see them for so long. We do try to connect and do lunches and dinners with our past clients often to just catch up, see how they are in their new home, see how they love it. Like I mentioned, it's relationship building. They are on our sphere of influence, so they will definitely receive our postcards, our emails. We try to touch them in as many ways possible without being over the top, but definitely just knowing that, just having them know that we're here for them for any questions. We do a lot of leases in our community. That's a big builder for our business, and although they can be frustrating and they can take a lot of work, they're a way for us to help our clients with their investments, so that when they go to sell or when they have people in the future that are looking for a realtor, they think of us. So that's another way that we keep in touch.
I have a database, and so I call everyone on their home anniversary. I try to touch everyone at least quarterly, and I definitely like to meet up for coffee or lunch or dinner just to catch up.
And even with those leases, if you're representing the person looking to lease, you never know when they will turn into a buyer. So I never turn down a lease. It's good, easy money. That goes for me personally. That's like a month of mailers. So I do it. What do you do for your clients on closing gifts? And how much do you typically spend?
It honestly depends on the client. There's a few different things I usually try to factor in. Like the price point is an obvious one, but also who the client is and what means a lot to them. I have some clients that really could care less whether or not they get a gift, but if you pay for a house cleaning, they will love you forever, and that's going to mean a lot more to them. I have other clients that could care less about a house cleaning, but really appreciate sentimental or thoughtful gifts. So I've had one client grew up in Hawaii, loved Hawaii. When we were going through the transaction, we talked about it a lot, and so when we closed, I had these Honolulu cookies flown in from Hawaii overnight. They come in this nice, beautiful, nice box with this ice pack to keep them cool, and that made a big impression on him. And so what I try to do is I try to find the thing that's going to really make an impact on them.
Yeah, those personal touches.
Yeah.
So I don't put a lot of value in client gifts. I find that if I'm representing a buyer, they're not paying the commission anyways. They get my service for free. And for sellers, I'm very, very upfront and clear about what the goal is. And I just think that if you set the expectation and destroy what you're going to do so that they really are blown away by the service that you provide, that is the ultimate gift to give your clients. Aside from that, that's.
There you go, and it works for you. So, everybody has their own style.
So I'm a little more warm and fuzzy. Champagne and flowers all day long for sure at closing. And then I always try to take them to dinner. It could be $200 to $400 dinner. I want to go over the transaction, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And if we had a great time, I'll ask for a review at that time.
So ours is a case-by-case basis as well. We definitely love closing gifts. It's about something that means something to our clients. So during the transaction, we try to find something that would mean a lot to our clients. It's not about the monetary value. It's about something that they'll remember. So yeah, whether that's champagne or whether that's something that definitely just that they can hold on to for a very long time, it's just different for every client.
And what percentage would you say your business, this is a question for everybody, comes from those past clients?
So I've been in the business 13 years, like I mentioned, and in the beginning, the first 6-7 years, I would say most of it, almost all of it, was repeat referral. I wasn't doing a lot of marketing at that time. When my husband first came on, who is not my husband yet, he came on as just marketing. So we grew our team marketing in that fashion, and we started getting more business that way as well. So now, gosh, I don't have a percentage I want to say, but half. We have a lot of repeat referral in our community.
It works.
Yeah.
Every year's been different, but this year it was definitely 50% for sure.
Mine's probably around like 30-ish, something like that, 30%. You know, a lot of my 5 years, a lot of my clients are not ready to either do something yet, but referrals have started to play a bigger role. And last year I did have, you know, actually 2 of my first repeat customers where they sold their house that we helped them buy, and then we bought another one.
Nice.
So I track my business, but I happen to lump my database and my past clients all into one. And so I've noticed that, you know, when you start off, you're not really going to, that's not a great lead source for you because you're just getting started. But every year that goes by, there's an accumulation effect that makes this business easier and easier. So last year, 62% was from my database and past clients.
Yeah, so the moral of the story, keep in touch with your clients. Don't let them slip away. So what is it, because you all kind of come from different markets, what is it that sets you apart in your market?
So, you know, the honest answer is I don't really think about it. You know, I think that there's like this rabbit hole you go down if you start looking at what everyone else is doing and you try to compare what you're doing to them. There's this book called like the Gallup Strength Finder, and the whole idea behind it is that, you know, you should really not focus on what you're not doing, but focus on what you are doing well, or focus on your strengths and double down on those. So that's kind of what I've applied to my business, and, you know, just always trying to keep that focus in mind of, you know, whatever I'm doing well or whatever I think I'm doing well, you know, focus on that versus trying to improve the areas that I'm not. And, you know, and then with the end goal in mind of, you know, always providing exceptional service to your clients.
Nice.
I think that's a great point. Always focus on your strengths. So I look at it like this. The second I make contact with someone, your presentation has already started. Just the first words, the impression that they get from you, all the way up until when you meet with them and you sign the contract, you go through escrow and close, all those things are all making an impact. And my approach, I think that it's very systemized, and the people that I speak to already see that. So there's a very professional approach that I take. I wear the full suit every day I'm at the office, and I just feel like that professionalism shines through my contact with them, whether it's on the phone or in person. And I think that's the main thing.
Absolutely.
That I'm probably also relentless with my lead follow-up.
I also think it's my motivation and drive to help people, and just really great communication. Like always being available when they need me.
I agree. The communication to us is key. That, I think, is the number one thing that people say they don't get from their real estate agent. And this is such a huge part of someone's life, buying or selling a property. And it's scary and it's stressful. And we've been through it so many times with so many different clients. To be able to hold their hand and go through every aspect of the process with them and know that, and have them know that we're there for them and we're part of their team, I think is what holds us apart. We also, within our farm, have been in every property, every floor plan. We know everything that has to do with that community and the surrounding area, and we create market reports, know all the numbers, stay on top of that. That's very important for someone to be able to come to you and talk about something that sold a month ago, and to know that, to be able to share with them your thoughts on that. But to us, I think communication is definitely number one with our team.
Yes, absolutely. Do any of you feel you have a specific niche? And if so, how did you land in that niche?
I guess. The short answer is, like, you know, I landed in the niche by kind of just happenstance. I mean, I think everyone here probably has some kind of geographic farm. That's where you live. That's obviously one source of business that you always want to use. The other main, I guess, niche is like, I would say the more demographic. So I'm 30. I am getting married this weekend.
Congratulations.
So yeah, but thank you. But a lot of that is, that I am of that age where a lot of my peers are looking to buy their first house. They're getting married, they're having kids. So I end up working with a lot of first-time home buyers or people who are looking to buy their first house. And the second niche, I guess, would be the people downsizing, or really their parents or my parents, who have these big houses, who their kids are now getting married or moving out or having babies and whatever, and now they have a 2-story house that they don't want to live in anymore. And so both those things I kind of fell into, and when I started to realize that, I did want to start using that and kind of focusing on that more in my business.
My business is a listing oriented business. And so I started off primarily getting my business from expired listings and for sale by owners. I felt like those were people who I knew that were motivated, although they can be very competitive since a lot of people are going after them. But I felt like if I could accomplish that and get that under control, a lot of other lead sources were going to be a lot easier. So that's how I got started, at least.
That's why they call it a niche.
I actually purchased a home with the help of my parents and my grandparents in Playa Vista when I was 24. And that was right. I was very lucky, and that was right when Playa Vista began, almost. Playa Vista started in 2003, and it was an area that a lot of people didn't know. It's still building to this day. And I started with a neighbor's listing. A neighbor got frustrated with another agent that she hadn't listed with yet. And I started with a neighbor's listing, and I grew that listing from an open house into multiple buyers, a lot of whom I'm still great friends with today and still buying and selling, and then on from there. But fell into it by where I purchased a property.
So my very first listing was a lease, and it was in Playa Vista. And it was a single family. There was nothing else similar on the market for a lease at that time. And I door knocked around the area, probably like 200 homes. I had 100 people through an open house for a lease, and I had 5 applications on it. And I was like, this area is it. So I totally just fell into it. And what I realized is I was holding open houses every weekend, and buyers were getting into the market when they could get in Playa Vista, because it's a really hot market, and then they're growing out of it. So this past year, like 50% of my business was a turnover because they were growing out, expanding their families. They need a bigger home in Playa Vista. So I just kind of fell into it.
Awesome. And that's a good segue. Speaking of open house, do we do them? Do we love them? Do we get success from them?
Always. I mean, where else can you find someone that's looking to buy a house or interested in houses? If someone takes the time to get out of wherever they're living, to drive to this open house and walk through the door, you know that at some level they're interested in real estate. So I always do them, and I always try to do them, and that was one of my main sources of business when I first started, is doing open houses, asking every agent in my office, looking at their listings, what they had, what was on the market for past 30 days, and asking if I can hold the open house for them. And I found that to be very successful.
I think I like my weekends too much. I don't hold open houses. I delegate them out as much as I can.
You're just a man on your own over there.
Blazing my own trail here.
I love open houses. I will hold them any day, all day. Definitely most Saturdays and Sundays. I'm typically in an open house if I'm not out of town. I love working with buyers all day long. I kind of look at open houses like working in a restaurant. Like, people are coming in to buy. They might not be buying that house or that day, but eventually they're going to. So if you follow up, they will work with you. And my goal is literally to build a relationship or build rapport with 1 or 2 people in that open house. Because if there's 20, I'm not going to really be able to spend that one-on-one quality time. But so 1 or 2 people, build that rapport and just follow up and find out exactly what it is that they're looking for. And I will try to set a buyer's appointment at that open house for later during the week or after the open house.
We absolutely do open houses as well. I don't know of a weekend recently that we weren't holding multiple homes open on our team. It's such a great way to pick up business and also to hopefully sell that property. For a long time, the market was so hot that it was, we'd list a home on a Thursday, we'd have open houses scheduled Saturday, Sunday, we'd have 100 people through each day, and we'd multiple offers Monday, Tuesday. I know, not quite there anymore right now, but it is picking up. But you're meeting some great people, doing wonderful showings for your seller as well, and being able to show off that property. And like I mentioned, when I was first building my business, that's how I really started to expand in the area. And that the same thing is true right now. So we completely appreciate open houses, and we'll continue to always do them.
All right, so everybody, go get an open house this weekend. I know I'll be doing mine on Sunday. So let's talk social media and technology. So social media, are we utilizing it? What are we doing?
Okay. Yes, I utilize social media. Of course, yeah, I think I use it to stay engaged with the people that my own sphere. I use it to connect with them. I found that that's a great way to also keep in touch with clients, is following them and liking a post and commenting on a post and just saying, hey, congrats, whatever it is. It's like almost like a soft touch. It's not invasive, but it also, people will read that, people will see that. So I found that to be a great use, but I also use it to, express myself. I think with social media, it is important that it is personal and that it is you. We found that the people will engage the best with the posts that are about me. If I'm in them, if I'm saying something, or if it's just about something in my life, those are the ones that trend. And so what we started to do, one of the strategies we started to do is trying to use social media to more tell a story versus just kind of, here's my open house. Because what we, like I think most people do, and I'm guilty of it too, is that we'll put up the example that struck me best is like, if I have a candle shop, right, and I want to sell my candle, the first thing I post is usually, here's my candle, it's great, buy it. And that never has worked. So what we started to do now in our social media strategy, and I would say too that this is like, for Instagram, it's stories, it's not your posts. You have to do stories. People don't really use your posts anymore. It's more like a aesthetic board that people look at versus like the stories, what they engage on a day-to-day basis. So what we started doing is we started building out campaigns based on this candle I want to sell. So week 1 is going to be I have a headache. Week 2 is going to be I have a headache and I can't sleep. Week 3 is going to be I have lavender oil, and the essential oils are going to be really good, and they're going to help me alleviate my headache. And week 4 is going to be when I propose this amazing candle that has lavender and essential oils that can solve your problem. But really what it's doing is it's helping people relate to your problem, or whatever it is. It makes you approachable, makes you relatable, and then it also shows you are an expert because you are able to show something and how you're solving a problem. So that's how we started trying to use our social media, and we found it really successful.
And do you manage it yourself, or do you use because I know I get inundated daily in my inbox with companies saying, I could do this, I could do that. Do you do it yourself, or do you utilize some of those companies?
I don't use a company, so yes, I do it myself. I do have an assistant who helps me kind of schedule out posts or help me writes captions or reminds me of things that are important. But I think social media is an expression of you. So if you are not in it, I don't think it's as successful as it is if you are in it. My assistant can't tell me how I felt today or how my food was or whatever it is, and people will engage with that. And so I think it also allows people to kind of get to know you before actually getting to know you. And so if it's not you, you want your personality to match whatever, if someone looks at my stories, when they talk to me in person, that person should be the same. And so I think it is important that you manage your own.
Social media, I do post like just listed and just sold on my social media. Something I also do is if you're a Facebook friend of mine, then without a doubt you've gotten a video message on your birthday. I'm very diligent about that. But aside from that, social media for me is the main tool is for accountability. I mean, that's my biggest audience. So if you follow me on social media, you will see my 5 a.m. club workouts and my prospecting results every single day. I think the more eyes on me, the less I can fail.
Yeah, and I follow you, I've seen your videos, and by the way, follow these people up here. And your videos are inspiring, and they do show accountability, and it makes me want to check myself to say, well, what did I do today? I didn't do enough.
Yeah, I just started following him about 2 weeks ago, and it was like, wow, that's amazing. So social media, I have my personal page, which has a lot of clients and friends on the personal page. We have our business page, which we talk about the community and open houses and sales and just solds, just listeds. And then we also do advertising, so sponsored ads within Facebook. That's huge for us, actually. The amount of hits we get on our sponsored ads, and we narrow in on what actually works. And generally, great pictures of beautiful places really are the thing that people share and people like and post on and comment on. Sometimes not all comments are wonderfully nice if they don't like the price, but for the most part, we get really great feedback, and we get a lot of people coming into open houses saying that they saw it on Facebook. But I agree that a lot of it has to be personal. I'll put some work item up and we'll get 2 likes, and then I put a picture of our little one and it's 100. So I think it's a good way to do both.
So I use Facebook and Instagram as well, and I just did my first video where I'm actually in the video. I've been resisting it for like 5 years, but it was so much better and so much more personal, and I got a lot more feedback on it. And I manage pretty much all of my social media myself except for my videos. My videographer will boost it for me to all the different platforms, which is really helpful.
Yeah, I find the more personal I am, I get more like, I'll post something of my dogs and I get like 400 likes and I'm like, it's a dog. And then I post something property-wise and it's like 30. And, you know, just to say, when we had the Woolsey fire, I went and donated some equine stuff to some girls at a shelter, and we are actually now looking for them to purchase a property. So that was just out of my own goodwill, never even mentioned that I was an agent, and they started following me on Instagram because they wanted to tag me in the post, and it started from there. So, you know, being personal, it really does work. I agree with you guys.
I did create like a little worksheet, so if everyone does want one, we have some in the back, but just as a way to kind of tell your story, because I think that's what social media has more become now. The more companies that advertise on it, the less it becomes personal. So if you can tell a story and tell it well, I think people relate to that a lot more than anything else because they want to see you. And so, yeah, I have them in the back.
Thank you for that. Everybody grab one before they're all gone. So what other type of technology are you using? Kind of CRMs?
Lots. I use all Google tools. Google Drive is like a huge thing for me. I use Asana to keep track of all my project management software. I use Slack to communicate so I don't get inundated with text messages from an assistant. I have a separate platform so I can communicate with that. Let's see here. I use a CRM. I use Contactually. Compass, my brokerage, has an amazing suite of tools that track insights on all my listings, how many views, how many clicks, all that kind of stuff. So technology plays a huge part in my business. And I use Hootsuite as my social media management platform just to kind of manage the posts. But like I said, stories are a bigger thing now. Yeah.
So I think technology is amazing. I just have never been so versed at it. I started off like making phone calls from the white pages and keeping my leads on a 3x5 card. So I'm learning a little bit more about getting into it. Really, the only systems I use and invest in is a high quality dialer. Our brokerage at Lyon Stahl provides one of the best CRM Salesforce out there. And whatever else my coach tells me to do.
Awesome. I'm using the Mojo Dialer for cold calling. My database is Realty Juggler, and then I also use Google Drive as well.
Our CRM is Boomtown, and we love it. It's actually, our coach recommended it about a year ago, and it's really done a ton to organize our systems, especially with our full team and lead follow-up and lead capture. So that's our main, that's the hub of the technology that we use with our company. We also use Google Docs, Google Calendar, and that's basically it. I mean, yeah.
If there was one device or piece of technology that you could not operate your business on a daily basis, what would that be?
Other than Google, it's probably my CRM, just because it keeps all the important dates, contacts, information, transaction logs, everything like that. But honestly, it's probably like Google Drive, like to be able to Google Suite tools, like to be able to share that information so quickly is awesome.
I literally call this my rainmaker. Yep. So that's it.
I had a feeling you were going to say your phone.
Phone. Can't live without it.
Phone and laptop. Yeah, absolutely. Without it, my laptop had to go in for service the other day, and they told me it was going to be 4 to 7 days before I could get it back. And I said, you absolutely cannot do this to me. This is my lifeline. And they got it back to me the next day, but it was a little bit scary. So
yeah, that sounds like a tense, hostile situation. So I think you touched on it, coaching. Do we have coaches?
Yes, I'm coached with the Mike Ferry organization. I've been with Mike since 2013, and it's literally the lifeline of my business. It's what's created the real estate broker that I am today. Every system that I do, every way that I present myself, the scripts that I use, it is all just Mike Ferry stuff. I'm not original. I'm not creative. I just stick to it.
And it works.
And it works. Proven.
I did Tom Ferry coaching for about 2.5 years. I just stopped at the end of the last year, but I'll probably join either them again or look for another one in the next year or so.
Did you feel it helped you?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, it's accountability, and it's, like you said, it's proven methods of people who have done it, who have stuck to the plan and found amazing success, and I think it's well worth the money.
yes, we brought on a coach about a year ago. At the time, we were kind of pulling our hair out, trying to find the right assistant. We just had a baby, trying to balance work-life balance, but also grow our business. So working through all that is very difficult on your own. You can only kind of see one direction. So we interviewed someone that we had seen online and read wonderful things about. His name's Brian Eisenhower, and he's been awesome, just as far as keeping us accountable. He helped us with our systems for hiring the right assistant, just growing our team. We know that each year we'll be able to grow further because we're accountable to him and we listen to him. So yeah, I think that's huge for our team.
I've been on and off coaching with Tom Ferry for 5 years. The past 6 months I took a little bit of a break, but I'm feeling like I need some little extra accountability, so I might get back into it.
Yeah, we could always use that extra motivation. So we kind of touched on when you first came into the industry. Now that you're seasoned, top producers, if you could go back and tell your younger real estate self something that you would do differently, what would it be?
I would organize my contacts and my my CRM like right in the beginning. I delayed that for a long time, and as you get in this business, I mean, this business is all about talking to people, meeting people, expanding your network, and that list just grows. And so the longer I delayed that, the more difficult it was to kind of bucket them correctly and do all those kind of things. So if I could go back, I would definitely do that like day one.
So I guess it would be two things for me. Number one would be think less and do more. I spent probably my first year, I was too afraid to fail, so I wasn't taking enough action. And the next thing is keep it simple. It's so easy to overcomplicate things, to get ready and make sure you're 100% prepared, and at the end of the day, you haven't done anything. So if you just attack the hard stuff and get it done, everything else is easy.
My first year was like that too.
I would have quit the restaurant industry like a year sooner, because then that would have created a lot more sense of urgency if I needed that money coming in. Also, the database, I just got mine going 6 months ago, so I would have done that a long time ago too.
Yeah, I think the database is huge. That's number one, I think, for anybody getting started. You know so many people already that you don't even think about maybe for real estate. And if you don't think about them, then they're not going to think about you when they go to list or sell or purchase. So I think that's definitely up there. We also waited a very long time for that right assistant that I know I've talked about, but that can really help you grow your business so that you can get out there and meet more people and develop more relationships if you have organization within your team and you know you can trust people on your team to make that happen. So I would have made sure to handle both of those things a lot earlier.
Yeah, it's so important to build those relationships. It's the biggest thing about our business is building relationships with people and realizing that sometimes it takes time for those relationships to turn into a transaction. What is the best advice you've ever been given?
My old manager used to say, "No one ever died in real estate," and that was honestly like the best advice she ever gave me. The basic principles. Whatever's going on, like you just have to zoom out and realize that no one's gonna die. What we do is important, but no one's gonna die because a home didn't appraise or inspection went bad or whatever the case may be. Or you're trying to negotiate the repairs. So that allowed me to gain some perspective and know that while what we do is very important, it's not life and death. So you don't get bogged down by the little things too much.
This takes me back to when I first joined coaching. So this business, I'm sure you guys know, is like a lot of ups and downs. And I was at a low at that point. I was playing a really small game. I had like $2,000 in my bank account. I had $8,000 in credit card debt. And I just felt like I didn't know what to do. And I was thinking about, if I'm either going to sign up for coaching and succeed, or I'm just going to drown at this point. And I had read it was a Les Brown quote, and it was, "Today, if you do what others won't do, then tomorrow you can have what others can't have." And so, since then, I just never looked back.
Well said.
I think in the beginning in real estate, it's always a struggle. And I think it's hard not to always be concerned about the commission and what you're going to make and the paycheck coming up. I always feel, though, if you don't worry about the commission and you worry about helping those people and developing those relationships, then the commission will follow. Your career will follow. You'll grow, no matter how hard that is. And that would be my best advice.
I would definitely say to never give up. Like my first year, I did not sell a house. My open house signs were getting stolen. I was doing everything wrong. And if I would have given up at any point, then my next year, I wouldn't have sold 12 houses. So everything that you farm and you build, it does not necessarily happen right away, but eventually it will. So it's like slowly and then suddenly. So I would just say never give up.
Yep, never give up. That's exactly how it was for me. Like I just got a text message right now that the property we put onto market on Monday, which is my first listing, thank you, already got an offer, sight unseen. So
Amazing.
It happens. It just sparks like wildfire. It took me a full year to get a buyer, and in between that time, I did leases because I needed to put money on the table. I too had credit card debt and was like, I got to do something. And so if you just keep swimming, as Dory says, you will make it. So with that, let's open it up to you guys. I know you got some burning questions out there. Let's get a microphone out there and get some questions going. John, you want to get the mic?
I give you that mic. Would like to go first.
Hi, mine's actually a really quick question. What was the name of the book? It was like, you mentioned it was something Strength Finder or...
Oh, it's the Gallup Strength Finder. I think it's like Gallup Strength Finder 2.0.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
What are your guys' goals for this year, and are you guys going to kind of switch anything up or add anything to your routines to
Good question.
achieve that goal?
Whoever wants to go first.
My goal is 45 personal transactions, and how I'm going to do that. So I track all of my numbers very systematically. It's the way that I feel. If you track your numbers, you can duplicate your business and you can track your growth. So last year I averaged 36 contacts a day, and my coach told me that if I want to get my goal, I got to talk to 50 people.
There you go.
So let's see here. My goals are, I would like to have in 3 years. I would like to have like 2 buyers agents on my team. 5 years, I would like to have a full marketing person on my team as well as the additional buyer's agent. And then by 10 years, I would like to basically be doing 20% of the business and my team doing the other 80. How I'm going to get there, at least this year, I have a number goal for transactions. I have a GCI goal as well. And what I'm doing differently is I'm implementing more video. I'm going to try to implement more video into my own business and use that as a kind of a platform to touch people without having to actually call and do everything else.
Awesome.
My goals are 34 transactions, $1 million GCI, and then hire a buyer's agent, a showing specialist, and a full-time assistant.
Our goal is also $1 million GCI. It's to grow our business by about 25%, 30% in transactions this year. We just brought on a buyer's agent, and in the future, as we continue to grow and have the capacity, we would like to continue to grow even further with our team.
Those are really great goals, and I'm sure all of you are going to hit that. Do it.
Anybody else, please? Don't be shy.
Yeah, I got a question with your social media. Do you have people like follow you right on the spot at open houses, or how do you exchange information so they can go ahead and follow you?
So usually I'll do it like with people that I'm actually working with, and I'll do that. The other thing is I like to tag a lot of things. So like, if you're at a restaurant, you tag the restaurant. If I'm having a junk hauler, like haul junk from a listing to get it ready, I'm going to tag like junking and have them. And then what that does is that kind of expose it. Sometimes we will get them reposting our posts. Sometimes we will get people following that post. Whatever it is, like I usually get like 1 or 2 followers from that, just random people. But either way, it kind of gets your, it expands your network, and I found that to be really helpful, just kind of tagging wherever you are.
And then a quick question for you, Nicole, as well. So you said you go ahead and have, like, sometimes convert an appointment at the open house. What's the dialogue in order to do that and set that up?
Well, I kind of just find out a little bit about what they're looking for, and I just build a rapport, just asking questions, and then I'll just go right into the appointment if they're not working with an agent. That's one of my first or second questions, because I never want to step on anybody else's toes. So if they're not, I just let them know it's really important that they start working with an agent, because we specialize in the area that we're working in. I always talk about off-market listings and trying to get them in first before anyone else, and that will usually get them intrigued. And then I just try to set it like very quickly within a couple of days so that it just everything stays fresh. Because otherwise, if I'm not, then I'm chasing them for like a really long time. And I'd rather just get the chase out of the way.
Thank you.
Hi guys. I have a question for new agents. If you guys could talk about it, do you guys use scripts? And if so, do you practice them?
Dow.
100%. So if you're a new agent, there's only really 2 things you should be doing. Number 1 is talking to people in whatever format that is, and number 2 is preview property. And when you're talking to people, there's a whole wide array of scripts. I'm not sure if they, I'm sure they all work, but I follow, the Mike Ferry organization offers all their scripts for free, so I just follow the script to the T every time. And in regards to practicing the scripts, it's crucial to start every day role-playing those scripts. When you do the role plays, you can practice hypothetical situations, even make it more challenging for yourself so that when you're on the actual call or the actual door knock, it's easier than what you've already practiced.
Do you have a role play partner?
Yes, so I have a group that so through my coaching program, I've networked with different agents, and there's a group called the West Coast Role Play Group. We all use the same scripts, and we practice at 7:30 every morning.
I had a role play partner for about 1.5 years, and yes, we definitely have to practice scripts. I mean, talking is our job. Like, how you convert leads is literally your livelihood. So I think it is very important to practice scripts and just find, and like you said, there's a million of them. I'm sure they all work, but really what it is practicing them and finding the one that feels natural to you. Because if it feels natural to you, it'll come out naturally and it'll feel genuine.
Yeah, scripts are so important. Through Tom Ferry, they have a sales edge. It's 3 days, 8 hours a day of scripting. And when I walk out of there, I feel like I could, convert anyone. Like, it's so important. And then also, Monday through Friday, there is a call from 8:30 to 9 that I just can jump on, and I can role play with people all over California, which is helpful.
It's amazing when scripts are done well that they don't sound like a script at all, and that's always the goal with us. So I don't get up and role play scripts, although I know that would be super helpful. And I think more in the beginning, I definitely did, and definitely should get back into it. My coach has scripts for anything he talks about to us. I know he does, but it sounds so genuine and amazing, and that's number one for us, is for it to not sound like a script overall. And I think you really need to practice and be in those situations in order for it to become more and more genuine and more personal.
Any other questions?
So communication is key to our business. I just want to know, when I got my license in 2011, everything was email. About 5 years into it, it turned into texting. Now it's all direct messages, Facebook Messenger. Can you guys just give us a breakdown of what percentage you guys contact your clients, like out of that pie?
I don't have a percentage per se, but I usually keep the method whatever they're talking to me. So if they're going to message me on Facebook, I'm going to respond to them on Facebook and pretty much keep that dialogue on Facebook until they want to switch or until we have like contracts or whatever else it is. Same thing with texting or same things with people. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just ask them what they prefer, and when I meet with them and say, hey, look, what is your job? Can you take a phone call during work? If not, do you want to text? Like whatever it is, I try to make it as easiest on them as possible.
That's a great question to ask, is what's your preferred method? By default, I'm by the phones, naturally. And when I am at the presentation when I'm getting my listing contract signed, I set up the expectation with my clients that I'm going to be calling you on every Friday afternoon, so they know that's when we're going to be talking. Unless, we get an offer in the meantime, then if I'm calling earlier, it's good news.
When I first hear from someone, I generally always say, when's a good time to set up a phone call to chat by phone? I feel like that, although not everyone likes to chat by phone, I feel like it really connects you in the beginning. And then from there, we try to set up a face-to-face. And that's huge for us. That said, during an escrow, everyone has their own particular way that they like to be contacted, and we try to go by that. But we definitely do a lot of phone calls still. We do text to set up a call, normally is the way that it goes. Or if something happens to get in there when they're at work, we definitely text or email. But phone calls are still number one.
I prefer phone calls, but I'm finding that most of my clients like to text. Like, for instance, one transaction, the entire thing was by text. She would not answer the phone. And it's like, sometimes you need to have a conversation, but you just got to go with the flow sometimes.
Any other questions? I think you have had a question for the last few minutes there.
You mentioned that at the open house, you'll try to see if you can set up a buyer appointment. So what is that conversation like that you're having with a potential buyer, and then what are you going over in the actual appointment when you're meeting with a buyer?
So, this is like your typical buyer's presentation, like script. I'm just asking them a little bit about themselves. I'll first ask them if they're working with an agent, and then if not, I'll let them tour the house. They'll come back around, and then we'll start talking about, how long they've been looking, what's working, what's not working, what areas they want to be in. And it's just, just trying to build a little bit of rapport with them, about what they're looking for. And then I just, it kind of just depends on, how the conversation is going. And then, I will just let them know how important it is to work with an agent that specializes in the area, so that, it will get them in a house much sooner, rather than being on their own, and so I just try to encourage that and let them know that I would just love to sit down with them and talk about, what their needs are and what they're looking for. Because people, at the end of the day, they do want to feel important, they want to feel special, and so I just try to make them feel that way. And then, I'll set the appointment. like after the first time you do it, it just gets so much easier. Like it kind of feels like a little bit nervous or scary to like set the appointment, but like the first time I ever set, you know, a listing appointment through an open house, I was like, oh my God, that was easy. I need to do that every time. Because it just takes the work out of it for us, you know, getting them sooner to, you know, the table to find out what they're looking for. Was that helpful? Yes. Okay.
Anyone else?
So one thing that I'm struggling with in my business is lead follow-up. I'm so focused on prospecting. I have to get my contacts, and then it's like lunch, and then I'm like, oh shoot, I still need to make more contacts, and then I feel like I have this list of people that I still need to follow up with that I've just been pushing it off day after day after day. And it's like, how do you manage your prospecting and lead follow-up? And what do you say to the follow-ups when you're just meeting people, friends? So 2 parts.
Quality over quantity all day long. I know with the coaching, they want us to make all of these contacts and whatnot, but in your schedule, you can actually create an hour to where you're following up. Like maybe you're going to do, you know, your prospecting for 2 hours, but make sure that extra hour after that, you're following up with your past leads, like the next day. Or if you're meeting people on Friday, you know, and you want to do it on Monday, you know, just make sure that you just put it in your schedule. So if you don't put it in your schedule, it doesn't exist, right? But like, you know, you don't always have to make 100 contacts in a day. You know, maybe you can make 50 and then you follow up with your other 50 and then you're setting 5 appointments. Yeah. The most important thing is appointments all day long, because that's what's going to convert to dollars, you know, and you're going to help more people.
No, I think that that's exactly quality over quantity, in diving deeper into those relationships, and that includes follow-up, and just putting it in the schedule is really important, because I've done that before too, where you're pushing it, oh, I didn't take care of this, I didn't take care of this. But if you're looking at your schedule and just making it a point to get to that right away and handle it, you won't be pushing that off, and you'll be making more appointments.
The gentleman in the back, I think, had a question.
Do you mind if I add a little bit on that?
Sure, go for it.
Sure. So 80% of the appointments that we're going to get is from lead follow-up. What I would suggest is, rather than, I mean, prospecting is important, but make it your first task of the day to set your to follow up with your leads. I mean, there's no better way to start your day in prospecting than setting a great qualified listing appointment. And when you're following up with leads, I make it really, really simple for myself. I call them and I say, hey, are you still looking to buy, or are you still looking to sell? When this week can we get together to discuss that? And that's it. It counts as a contact.
Hey, my question is, working with buyers, how often do you use buyer representation agreements, and when do you approach your client about signing it?
That's a good one.
I've started using them a little bit, but usually it's more for like the people that I kind of feel that are a little more sketchy, that maybe not will work with me, or that I've mentioned like they're working with other agents. How I approach it is usually like, you know, I'll basically give them an illustration of, look, you know, I have a stack of clients on my desk that are my buyers. They've signed buyer broker agreements with me. These are my priority. I have another stack on my desk that are working with me, but have not signed buyer broker agreements. I'm going to treat these guys as my priority clients. These guys are going to get my first attention and will always get the best. These guys I want to deal with after I have serviced the other ones. Do you want to be, what pile do you want to be on? And I kind of approach it that way.
Give them the ultimatum.
If they're not going to work with you, they're not going to work with you. So, you know, it's like if you lose them early, you lose them early. But it's better to lose them early than lose them late.
I haven't gotten to the buyer broker agreements. Our coach definitely believes in it. Just in all my years, that was not something that we used. I really haven't been burned because of that. I know it's out there, and I know it's definitely better to use them. It's just something that it's not been a comfort for us. But we definitely, at the same time, when we meet with clients, we let them know that we're one-on-one, that we are loyal to them if they are loyal to us, and we expect that same loyalty back. I definitely think if you can get a buyer broker agreement and you go that direction, that's awesome. Definitely do it. But just in all honesty, our team hasn't yet.
In Keller Williams, we're trained to use them. So in the buyer's, consultation, I will bring it out. But then it also depends on what kind of client you're working with. If I have an investor that's telling me straight up he works with different agents in different areas, but will be loyal to me in that area, then I'm like, okay, great. So I know when I'm working with him and what's going on, and I know I'm not going to try and sell him something in another area that he's working with another agent. So, but then again, yeah, he doesn't get first priority. So but I do use the buyer broker agreement. I believe in it. And I also give them an out. If at any time they choose that it's not a good fit and they don't want to work with me, they just have to tell me, and it's as easy as that. But something triggers in their brain when they are signing that contract that they have a business relationship with you, and I think it's helpful.
And that actually brings up another good point, is when you're doing those open houses, to make sure you have that conversation and don't just say, yeah, are you working with somebody? You have to find out if they are in contract with somebody, because we have agency rules.
Tax saving strategies.
Talk to your CPA. I mean, that was always the advice given to me. I mean, we all, as agents, we all know certain ones. But the honest answer is, whenever they do ask me about it, I'll go into brief detail over what, whatever the, Prop 6090, whatever you want to talk about. And then I'll say, but consult your CPA. Every situation is different.
No, I mean tax savings.
Oh, for me? Oh, I pay my taxes on time and well. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, I don't really focus on it, to be honest. Yeah.
Every commission check you get, you should break into buckets. The keeping that organized. You can't treat your commission check like that's all your income, because it's not. Yeah. So I put away 15% for taxes.
Every paycheck I put 35% into a tax account. So 35% goes in there, then 10% goes into marketing, and then a portion of that will go into like my personal checking. And then once you get to a certain point, I highly recommend opening up an S Corp, because then you save a ton of money on your taxes at the end of the day.
I also put in 30% in a separate account for taxes.
No, I think that's important to break it up from the beginning, but definitely to talk to a professional about your situation and someone you really, really trust, and that could take some time to find, about your specific situation and how to best save.
And thank you for bringing that up, because our next event down here is on March 14th, and it is a tax and legal strategies. We'll have a CPA here to answer all your corporation questions. So yeah, please come to that event. You'll see the flyer come out if you really are interested in learning more about taxes and our new laws that just hit us too.
That's March 14th, right?
Yes.
Beautiful. Thanks, John.
So I'm just wondering if now or possibly in the past have you used a lead provider service, and if you have, which ones have been successful for you and which ones have been a little sketchy?
We pay a lot of money to Zillow, I would say, is our main, well, in Boomtown, our CRM, we were doing some lead generation with that as well. But Zillow, which has been on and off, a lot of what we do it for is for just being a premier agent, coming soon listings. But they have a concierge service now at Zillow too. If you are a premier agent, where they try to weed out the real buyers or real leads to ones that aren't. And that's been good. We're working with some good buyers right now from Zillow, but still, for the most part, the majority of our leads are repeat referral and marketing.
I've never paid for leads. I believe in sweat equity. So all day long, open houses and door knocking, cold calling.
I tried Zillow for like a month, and I just hated it. I just don't have the time to manage like the people that come through, and a majority of them were not worth the time that I spent. So sweat equity, open houses, all those other kind of things, door knocking, I found to be way more successful than online leads.
Same.
How do you handle the objection buyer or seller who wants to use or considering using a discount broker?
Value. So really what it is, you know, I'm a firm believer in get what you pay for. So in the very first meeting, I'm setting the expectation of here's everything I'm going to do for you, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller, you know, and then I know what all the other discount brokers offer. 'Cause I'm an analytical guy. I research it. I figure out what they're going to do. So I'll show you if I can get you X amount more dollars more. That's going to and make your life easier and give you this trust in the sense that you're going to have someone to contact and know that they're going to take care of the transaction for you, so you can fall asleep easy at night and you don't have to worry about getting a hold of me. I offer all that value, and the short answer is that you'll never be able to convince anyone. There's some people that are always going to be money first, and they're always going to want to use the discounter, no matter if they're buying a house or buying shoes. Doesn't matter. But I think their value and what you offer and your value proposition is how you combat that. Of course. I mean, they're thinking about it. You know, half my buyers look at Redfin as their app of choice to find the home, and then they text me the Redfin link. It's not something that you have to hide from, because they're doing it anyways. So I bring it up and I talk and have an open discussion with them. And most people will understand that, you know, you get what you pay for. You're going to pay a discount service. You're going to pay a discount broker. You're going to get discount service. If you're going to pay in the honest answer for a buyer, you're not paying anything anyways. So, yeah.
So if this is an objection that you're getting at the presentation, I ask them simply, what's more important, the amount of money that they're going to net from the sale or the amount of commission they're going to pay? 99% of the time, unless they are like out there in La La Land, is going to be the money that they net. It's important to track what your list to sales price ratio is. I mean, a lot of the listings I take are from Redfin agents or what's Purple Bricks or whatever flat fee discount. I mean, those, if you just track how many expired listings they have, I mean, that's a lot of my business coming in. So I'm able to sell properties for more than what they were listed for before. So.
What Dow said.
And I think with when you're working with a buyer and someone's talking about Redfin, I mean, I know with our listings, we have Redfin agents contact us for showings, and it's a showing agent that doesn't know anything about the homes, anything about the community there, and the showing agent, then we can't even follow up with for feedback, because it's a different agent that you're dealing with that would potentially write the offer, that's never seen the property, never met face-to-face with the clients, very likely. It's just a different service for such a small amount when you're talking about a huge purchase and making sure that everything is taken care of and that you're buying the right property. That I think is huge.
Any other questions? All right. John, you want to wrap us up here?
Fantastic.
Oh, we got one more.
Cutting you off.
An objection that's coming up a lot lately is, you know, I want to wait for the market to change. I want to wait for prices to go down, X, Y, and Z. Do you have any objection handlers that you use, or like questions that you come back to them with? Because I don't want to talk at people, but I want to have some tools. So,
great question. How are we dealing with the shift?
Is this in regards for buyers or sellers? Well, when I'm talking with my sellers, that I get that objection a lot as well. Right now, we know that the market is trending downwards with the shifting market. So I always ask them, I mean, if you knew for certain that you could sell your home for more money now versus waiting 6 months, I mean, you'd want to know about that, right? And then go into it from there.
And then the listing agreement is signed.
Yeah.
You know, when we've talked to our coach about this over and over again, and I had purchased a home in 2005, 2006, right before it went up, and then it crashed. And that was one of the biggest crashes in history, as we all know, and I was dealing with mostly short sales. My house was $200,000 underwater. It was an ugly time. But since then, my house then went way over that. And if you look at historical numbers and a historical map out of what those look like, even small dips here and there, we're still trending upwards. interest rates are incredible right now. They've come down. They're looking to be over 5 by the end of the year. That makes such a big difference. If they're in a home that they love, that they're going to be in for a while, that they're not just looking to flip immediately, then why not get in that earlier as opposed to spending a huge amount of money on rent, because rent is crazy expensive right now, and just start building into that. That's how we go about it.
I want to add something. Tammy brought up a great point about interest rates, because a lot of people are so fixated on the price when in reality they're not considering interest rates that are rising. That actually, if they may buy a home for $10,000 or $20,000 below where it's at, the interest rate may be so high that their monthly payments actually exceed what they were looking to buy at. So they're actually well off, or worse off, and they don't even know it.
I'll actually show projections. So I'll show you like what, like, you know, if your house dropped $50,000, if you're looking to buy a house, if this property dropped $50,000 but your interest rate went up a point, what does that look like on your day-to-day or your monthly basis? And a lot of times it's almost net even, or it's a little better. And so, you know, using those kind of strategies to show like, look, how long do you want to wait? Like if you want to wait 2 years, here's what it might look like too. You know, but also factor in you're paying 2 years worth of rent, whatever else it is.
One of my lenders creates like a rent to own, or a rent to buy ratio, and it just shows them the amount of money that they're going to save by actually buying a home versus continuing to rent while the rental market's going up, as well as the interest rate.
And before I hand it over to John, I just want to say I'm so honored to share the stage with you guys. Such great role models I've got to look up for. And thank you so much. This has been a great discussion. John, I'll hand it over to you.
Let's give them a big hand, everybody. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Rita, for being